The excitement is killing me. Gotta let it coast down a little bit. Yes! Yes! Woo! Woo! No one's gonna believe this. The tuning journey is not guaranteed to be simple or without its bumps. I've had a few bumps in this one, obviously. The clutch went on the last time. That was a few weeks ago. I've since put a TTRS clutch in this car and it's now got 250 miles on. 250 miles of sort of lots of town driving, lots of clutch action, try and get that clutch bedded in. I would consider an organic clutch to be well bedded in, 250 mile. So it's time to tune this thing. Before we do that, let's just familiarise ourselves with what we have here. This is my Mk5 GTI. It's a 2007, so it came with a BWA engine. It's still got that stock BWA engine in there. And that engine has always been fit. It's got 145,000 miles on it, but it's fit, capital PH. It always does about 190, 195 PSI compression. So it's a fit engine, that. Plus, even as a stock car, this did well. A 220 odd brake on the dyno, which upset some people. If you've missed the build on this car, then I'll put a link in the description and you can go and see it. And if you've liked the build on this, then please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. There will be more stuff like this in the future. We've got another TFSI build on coming very, very soon. But let's go through the mods quickly. So this BWA is now running a K04 turbo with an anti-surge core and a forge actuator set at 10 PSI. I quite like a really stiff actuator on a K04 because it gives you that full range of movement and it feels really perky low down. The difference between this and most K04s is I've ported the shit out of this manifold. It's something that we do lots of for the hybrid turbos on 18Ts, so I thought I'd just give it a go on this one. Hopefully that will allow a little bit more airflow top end, get that peak brake horsepower figure going a bit higher. It's got everything that's needed to support a K04 as well. So the K04 injectors, 200 bar rail sensor, 3 bar map sensor. I've done a runner flap delete. It's got a Viz high pressure fuel pump in it. I didn't put that there, it was already in the car, which maybe gives an indication that this car was tuned previously. Obviously belts, water pump, chain, you name it. It's got a Cobra full 3-inch turbo back exhaust system. It's got a forge intake. What else? I mean, it's got a forge intercooler on it as well, the twin intercooler system. I put a Mk5 Golf GTI intercooler on, and then I put a twin intercooler and then I welded the pipe so it's all a bit nicer. So hopefully all of them modifications should mean that airflow through the engine is good, fueling will be good, and we'll be making all that bang bang power. S3 brakes, fully power flex, Bilstein B14s, all of that good stuff as well. So straight after this I'll be able to make some videos on how it drives, and then we'll do a custom one as well because everyone's always interested in that. But anyway, this video is not about that, it's about tuning. So let's get tuning. Right, let's go for it. Now, if you haven't seen the base map video and how I set this car up ready for tuning, then go and have a look at that. I do stuff like the runner flap delete, scale the injectors, blah 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 blah. There's loads of other stuff that I do, like I increase fuel pressure, lower lambda set point, and I also just decrease timing a little bit, just to make sure that it's all nice and safe. One of the biggest things that I did was I put that 5-map boost profile and switched the ECU into open loop boost control, which means that I can directly control the boost simply by putting in duty cycle to the N75 valve, essentially powering the solenoid. When the solenoid isn't powered, it's just basically an open tube. Boost goes from the compressor to the actuator, opens the actuator, and allows the boost pressure to be released. If I put duty cycle or power to the solenoid, I will essentially be restricting that, therefore hiding boost to the actuator, which keeps the actuator closed, which allows boost to go up. I set the 5 map boost profile set up, so the first map was wastegate, second map was 20% on wide open throttle, third map 40%, and I set the fourth for 60%, but chances are this wastegate spring is that stiff that I'll not get to 60%. I would imagine if I put 60% into this, the compressor wheel on the turbo would detach and would next see it on the moon next to the American flags. So I'm anticipating I'm not going to use 60%, so I'll probably just do the 0, which is 5, 20 and 40. We'll see exactly how it reacts, we'll see exactly if there's any timing pull, what boost I make, and then we'll go from there. So let's get them pulls done. Right, so that's the 3 runs done there now. So we've got power in red, torque in blue, and boost in green. See the difference between the wastegate pull, which is the bottom one, is sort of negligible really, to 20%. It doesn't really do anything. 40% is the one where it starts to get going. So 40% will be where I start off, and I thought it would be, to be fair, because it generally is for a K04 car. On the logs at 40% duty cycle, I'm hitting 1.4 bar of boost, which the dyno agrees with perfectly, which is cool. And for that, I'm getting no timing pull, you know, tiny bit of fuel correction, nothing at all. 7 milliseconds of injector runtime, which is all right. Low pressure fuel pump is keeping up lovely, and airflow for the car 275 GS equates to 343 brake horsepower airflow, and I'm doing 348 on the dyno. Right, I'm happy with that. Now, what I didn't show you on the base map video was that on map number 5, I actually already put a decent K04 boost control plot, one that I've used on a different car before, exactly the same core and wastegate, just not the ported and blah blah. So it's pretty much the same turbo, same setup. I'm going to run that now and see what that does. Now that car did 380 brake, so I'm hoping for about 380 brake with about 380 foot-pounds of torque. Let's see how it does. Best part about dyno tuning, and hands-free. Hands-free. Yes. Yes. Certainly looks good. Ooh. Check this log. I don't normally get out of the car to do this, but I'll do it just so that, you know, you can see. So that boost control map was one I used on another car not long ago, and I made about 380 brake. On this one, I made 391, and the only difference between them two cars, I mean, obviously some hardware differences, and then the ported K04. Peak torque, 375 foot-pounds, which is, you know, there or thereabouts. Bear in mind, I have no timing pull whatsoever in the logs. Well, I have a smidge anyway, a 0.8, that's absolutely nothing. I'm happy with that. I'm kissing 1.8 bar of boost peak there. It comes in really nice and linear and just sort of kisses 1.8 and tapers off. And that keeps my injector on time at about 8.93 milliseconds. That, my friends, is pretty much injectors tapped out. So there's no fuel to be coming in the mid-range now. I'm quite happy that that's where we are in terms of boost peak anyway. I think I've got some work to do on the back end of the boost, to be honest, because that's a strong actuator. I'll be able to push that a little bit further. I'm only doing 65% duty cycle on the N75 there, so I think there's a little bit of room there, which will hopefully push ourselves up a little bit. Like I say, timing pull is tiny bit. Airflow through is 306 GS, equates to about 382 brake horsepower, so I'm not that far off dyno to car as well. I don't tend to use the airflow model in that much, but I do keep an eye on it just to make sure the math's reading right, because sometimes it can be a little bit off in terms of dyno to airflow, all based on temperatures and what have you. Because the temperatures are really cold now and there's no timing pull, it's pretty much why the MAF logs are sort of registering close to dyno. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's time for the first iteration, where I think I'm just going to try and push the duty cycle on the boost a little bit, just to try and maintain that 1.8 bar a little bit longer. And then I'll also just ease some timing in. Let's see if I can push that up again. Hopefully on this next iteration, I'll get to the point where I'm really happy with the boost control. And then it'll just be little titterbates after that. It's making really good power. I'm really happy with it. I'm sure you can tell. Back in the car because it's warm. And I've left the car running as well, because I like to keep the juices flowing before I start to flash it, because when I do flash it, I'm going to have to turn the car off. Now on that Mk5 GTI, I had about 37% duty cycle, rising up, tape out to 65 at high RPM. I'm going to push that a little bit further now. I'm quite happy with the 37, but I am just going to take that up to 40, try and just push ourselves a little bit, and I'm going to make sure that I try and peak here. I'm going to go for about 80%, and I'm just going to interpolate between. The whole point is that I get the turbo going, and then when it does get going, I can just keep it going for a little bit longer, and we'll see how we go for, you know, the injection time after that. Don't like pushing K04s much past 1.8 bar. You can do it. I could get 2 bar out with this, and it'll be amazing. But it just wouldn't last long, I don't think so. And then the exhaust gas temperatures would be pretty high. You tend to see that with the fueling jumping into BTS quite a lot. So I'm going to put some timing in now. I'm just going to, in the peak sort of areas, peak load, I'll start off down here, and then it'll just transition through the table to here. I'm just going to put a couple of degrees in there, just literally a marginal amount, just see what happens. See if I start to hit some knock retard. These engines are knock limited, so I will hit knock before I hit peak torque, and then I'll be able to see that in the logs. If it's a little bit over, then I'll just dial this back. But that little bit there will hopefully transition us through the table and get us looking nice. It still looks pretty smooth there, so that's all right. It's interpolated nicely. Right, so let's get this flashed on and we'll get going. Flashing these Med9 ECUs takes about 7 minutes through the OBD port using my auto tuner tool, and it's a really good little system. It's pretty much what I use on all Med9 ECUs. In that time, I've checked Facebook, I've put an Instagram post out, I rang my wife, and I was going to make a brew, but I had a brew just before I started, so Christ, I can't drink too many brews. But it does tend to go quite quickly, so let's do it. Still just kissing 1.8 bar of boost there, not a little bit more boost on the back edge. Injector run time has increased quite a bit, to be honest, a little bit too much, because now I'm hitting 13% injected fuel trims, so I'm gonna have to probably lower that boost a little bit. Even if I made a slight adjustment on that, I can't see is adding 10% fuel at what is essentially 9 milliseconds of injection on time. So I'm gonna have to taper the boost off a little bit to try and get that fuel trim a little bit lower. So that one didn't work out just quite as good as I wanted to, in all honesty. Airflow looks good though, 401 brake horsepower through the logs at 321 grams per second. And dyno says 411 brake horsepower, still in the high 380s in torque, so 384 I think it is there. Honestly, HP support comes up on my friggin' dyno there, look at that. I'm buzzing with this, man. It's got loads of potential. So intake temps starting at around 15 degrees, drop to 14 on a pull, and end at 18. I mean, that's that's absolutely nothing. Ambient today is about 10 degrees. So the intercooler setup that I've got going there now is making a mint job of it. Airflow is mint, and it's keeping the temps down lovely. So I've got no complaints about that. Remember, this is the Mk5 GTI intercooler. with a forged intercooler setup on it, and most of the time intercoolers start to then struggle, you know, at the top end of K04 going into hybrid level. This one's holding on mint, so it's really doing a good job. I think I'm just gonna have to go straight off and do another flash, lower the boost a little bit on the back edge. But now that I know that I've increased boost, increased ignition timing, and still not got timing pull, I'm gonna be able to push this timing quite a bit more. So boost down, timing up, I think is the next flash. I do like a bit of sound tuning though, so I am gonna just increase the fuel cut-off delay a little bit. It's typically about 0.8 seconds, and the T-emphasize the burble on a little bit, but I like to just try and burble them a little bit more, so you get a bit more, and you do that with just that little bit of fuel. It makes it sound like Golf R impulse combustion, you know, when you put it into sport, if anyone's got that. So I quite like that, so I'm gonna do that to try and get a bit of burble, and then also that extra little bit of fuel will just ignite the fire a little bit, so when I'm doing high RPM gear changes I do get a little bit of a pop, you know. That's nice when you're giving it some. Here we go then. I think we're nearly there. So I'm really happy with the boost there. I've just done loads of back-to-back runs, as I'm sure you can see from the screen there. It is looking pretty good. We're pretty close. I'm really happy with the boost control. I've just done a time and pull run, so 100% throttle pedal, 100% load all the way to the end. Just kissing 1.8 bar. For that, I'm keeping the injector on time happy at 8.42 milliseconds. It's pretty much where I want to take it, and then it just tapers down. I'm at 6.6 at red line, so that's pretty cool. Just tickling the knock sensors. I mean, max what we're getting, I'm getting a tiny bit of -3, but it's mainly just 1.5s and 2s. I'm happy with that, to accept that. Ignition timing just keeps on going all the way, and then hits 16 degrees at red line, which is, this is about normal. I think this is going to be my last flash, so the last little thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in, I'm just going to clean up the tables where I left off, so the boost control tables. Last little thing, just go and delete the runner flap delete codes as well, which I had, which will mean that VCDS has no fault codes, even though I've done the runner flap delete. They were still present from the base map. So yeah, I'm going to get this flashed on, and then we'll do some final little runs, and we'll see exactly what the final power figure is. But it's going to be over 400 brake now. Like, it did a 411 before, so I'm going to let it cool down, and let's see if we can get, like, you know, keep that up there. I think it will. Like, I think it will. It's really strong. Anyway, let's do it. Brew time, just while that flashes. I think we'll have a little reflection on the car, to be honest. Why not do it now? I didn't think in a month of Sundays I'd hit 400 brake, I have to say. I thought I would get 380s, something like that. It just goes to show how well this thing's flown, and there's probably a few different reasons for that. First of all, that is a fit engine. I know it is. It's only a BWA, so at 400 foot-pounds of torque, I'm pushing it a little bit, but that's essentially why I've tapered the boost in. This is an anti-surge core. I could ramp it in, and it could be like, wah, but there'd be rods through the blocks and everything, and to be fair, there might still be, who knows. But I would consider this to be right on the edge at 400 foot-pounds. But I think the high peak brake horsepower figures, there's a few different reasons for that. First of all, that's a ported K04. I have seen good results from them from other tuners, so I thought I'd give it a go on my own car. Plus, it's a fresh anti-surge core, a good stiff actuator. I can hold the boost, and I can just ride that boost to keep the injector duty cycle just happy at the top end, which I have now. It takes, you know, a few runs to get that right at the end of the day. That's custom tuning. The intercooler, I have to say, the intercooler's working really good. That's the roller shuttle rattling on because it's windy. It's also 10 degrees, which is making a good effect on the power, obviously because the intercooler can keep it cool. But yeah, there's a lot of people slate the twin intercoolers, but this one's working awesome. It really is. So I don't think it's the best option, to be honest, but I think it's a cracking option to be doing 400 brake happily as well. There's no mad spike at all. To be doing 321 GS, it's just friggin' mint. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. I'm pretty happy. I'm thinking that I'm going to hit about the 400 brake horsepower with this, and I think that'll probably be it tapped out. But that flash will have finished now, so let's get it run up. I don't know if anyone's noticed as well, but I'm under the weather at the minute. I've got a bit of a cold, so sorry if I'm like all sinusy. Anyway, let's go for it. Last run. Let's get the fans on, let's get the juices flowing. Just get that airflow out of the intercooler so it can get some nice cool air through it. Not push it at all, which will keep the temperature low. Let's go for it then. Last pull, intake temps are nice, logins on. Let's start. The excitement is killing me. Gotta let it coast down a little bit. Yes! Yes! 414 brake horsepower. 411 foot-pounds of torque. Friggin' hell, man. That is mental. Right, let's have a look at the logs. Let's have a look at the freaking logs. Still hitting 2800 millibar, 1.8 bar a boost. Kissing it and then just sort of tapering off nicely. 80% duty cycle, top end. GS, 314. Boom, 392 brake as per the logs. So, I mean, it's a 400 brake car, let's face it. Intake temps, peak of 19 degrees, so going up about 4 degrees on a pull, absolutely nothing. 8.67 milliseconds of injector on time, taper down to 7, happy with that. Low pressure fuel pump goes down to 5 bar, now I'm targeting 5.8, so you can see that high RPM, it is starting to put a bit of load on that pump, so if anything, I might want to consider upping that pump to a TTRS one. I'm still not bothered about that, mate. 5 bar is still good. Normally you see them really struggle and they go down to about 3 bar. Ignition, timing retard, I've got in the mid-range I'm hitting 3 degrees, and there's a little bit of 3 degrees at the back end, but mainly it's just tickling them. I'm happy with that. I really am happy with that. Timing, 16 degrees at peak. Fuel pressure, mint. Oh man. 414 brake horsepower. Wow, let's go and see what the wheel power is. La 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 la. Look at that boost, nice and smooth, matches the logs perfectly. Just tapers up lovely to 1.8, just to keep the front wheel drive happy. A peak of 354 wheel horsepower. That's the most I've ever had out of a K04, it really is. 354 wheel horsepower, which makes that 354, 414.85, 15% difference between wheel and crank. So that is mint. That is absolutely mint. And look at that graph. Smooth as the baby's bum. I did that pull at 10 seconds. Now I have been doing a mix of 10, 12 and even 15 seconds when I wanted to push the timing before, just to make sure that the car was really loaded up. Temperatures got a chance to go up and then ignition retard would come in. Told you this car was fit, didn't I? I knew it. I knew it. Honestly, it's always been fit. From it was stock right through to now. It's so cool. This is going to be ballistic on the road. Absolutely ballistic. But that taper up with boost will hopefully help it out a little bit. And I could just imagine as soon as I get peak torque, 4,500 RPM, it's just going to it's going to be mental. That is the most I have ever had out of a K04 TFSI. And I can't believe that it's been on my own car, but I'm not trying to say that I've done this well and you need to copy, but like there is some choice mods on this car, and it's all about the package. It's all about how it all just works together and just makes for a happy thing. You've seen how clean the logs were. Them logs are immaculate. Everything was smooth, everything was nice. It's because all the tuning was smooth and nice, and oh, it's mint. It's mint. I think, let's be honest, if I did this pull after pull after pull, I'd be hitting 400 brake. That's a nice peak figure to hit, but like, oh, mint, man. I've got a 400 brake Mk5 GTI. I've doubled the power on this car. Honestly, I can't tell you how happy I am. This is friggin' mint. I love this car. This car cost me £2.5 grand a few years ago, and I've just slowly been doing modifications to it, and this is sort of the culmination of it. I've doubled the power and I've doubled the torque of this car. It's going to be mental, absolutely mental. And the test drive is going to be fun as out, so make sure you tune in for that. But I am going to have to go and do some road logging now, make sure that the boost control stuff and everything is happy on the road, because that's an important part of tuning, you know. And there's the compressor. There it is. Anyway, I think I'll stop waffling on this one. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video, which will be the test drive. White knuckle, I'm sure it's going to be. Anyway, appreciate it. Thank you. See you on the next one. Never printed a graph off of myself before. Friggin' frame this one.